Brought to you by Tailored Wealth, helping business leaders live their version of a rich life.
Welcome to another edition of the Making Sense of Your Money podcast, where we cut through the financial noise and help business leaders to make smart, confident money decisions. All right, welcome to another episode of the Making Sense of Your Money podcast, where we help you take control of your finances, minimize uncertainty, and maximize wealth potential. I'm your host, Dan Pascone. I'm the founder and CEO of Tailored Wealth, and I'm excited to have a special guest with us today. I've got with me Chris Poff. Chris is the founder and creator of Wizard Brain Trust, which I'm excited to get into and talk a little bit about. But Chris has got some unique expertise both in the real estate industry as well as entrepreneurship and small business development. So I think we're going to get a chance to talk about a few topics, some related to personal finances, some related to entrepreneurship and business, which I'm very passionate about, all of the above. So Chris, welcome to Making Sense of Your Money podcast, and we're pumped to have you today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Good to
see you. Good, man. So we've got a lot to cover. We're excited to chat with you. I think you've got some really interesting expertise, background, and experience that you can share with our audience. So before we get into it, why don't you just give us a quick 90-second overview of who you are, what your business does, and how you ultimately got into this space?
Oh my God, 90 seconds.
That's it.
Well, I was born in Ohio, diehard Buckeye, and from an early age just had a drive for success. I was one of those weird kids. I started reading success books in the third grade.
Wow.
And did my first business at 17 and fell into serial entrepreneurship. Loved starting businesses, learning about success, buying businesses, selling businesses, the whole bit. And I wasn't born into money. My dad was a salesman and had a chance to have a business once I graduated from high school. So I got to participate in some of that too. But the business that I created was an offshoot of my real estate company because I kept running into small businesses, either wanting to start up or wanting to create more wealth. And if there seemed to be a formula that I found that worked really well, and it's called the Wizard Brain Trust, and it's an advisory group that we educate first. So a lot of people come in and start selling first. We don't do that. We find out, hey, what's the challenge? What's going on? What would you like to see done differently? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? And are you living that? And then we educate. And that's the first thing we do. We don't, a lot of people just launch into selling, but we launch into educating. What's next for that person? And so that's as close to 90 seconds as I can go. That's it.
Well done, Chris. Well done, my friend. I'm sure there's a lot more that we'll unpack for sure, but thanks for the overview. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about your ideal client and what you ultimately help them to do.
My ideal client, although I'm not limited to this, I do a lot of work with Gen Xers and Boomers. And the reason for that is, number one, I'm 103 years old, so I relate to them. Gen Xers and Boomers have a very good history, colorful background, the entrepreneurs I deal with, but they're dealing with some really interesting challenges right now, which is, hey, I'm getting older. I either need to cash out or I need to have an exit strategy of some sort or a succession strategy. I want to pass it on to my kids. There's all these issues. And then what we find out is before you get there, like let's say you want to sell a company, well, the valuation. And because you and I, plan on working on some of these deals together, there's a huge difference in how your company is looking financially and how can you get the most amount of money if you want to cash out, or how do you get the systems together to pass it on to your kids so that the second generation wealth doesn't blow it. So anyway, those are some of the challenges. And there's also the IT and the AI challenge that drives all of us, not just us Xers and Boomers, but drives everybody crazy now.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. There's a lot that I could dig into there. Let's specifically talk for a second about that client of yours that is looking to or planning for or has aspirations to sell their business, because we deal with a lot of folks in that space.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
Financial planning, as you know, is really, really critical for folks that are in that position. But tell us a little bit about what you do for that individual, that business owner, the business in general, maybe the person as well, because that's really important. And then what you do to help them achieve their desired outcome.
Well, it always starts with the same thing, an assessment. Let's figure out where you're at right now. I call it a roadmap. Let's see where you are on the road to wealth or lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. So we go across the board. We don't just, hey, send me your P&Ls, let's look at that. I just ask a lot of questions. Are you happy with your lifestyle? Are you where you want to be? We look at the P&Ls, but we also look at the systems behind the P&Ls, because the three reasons why businesses fail are faulty business plan, inadequate funding, or faulty or inadequate management team. So we look at across the board, and probably the first thing we look at is, did you build a rock solid foundation, or are there chinks in the armor? Do we need to shore that up? And so that's kind of step one, is just that, let's identify where we want to start. And a lot of times, somebody will come to me and say, well, right now my problem's AI and, tech integration. And we still do the same assessment, because they may be looking at that problem, but we've got another serious problem with maybe funding or capitalization. The business isn't running quite the way it should, or the systems behind it. And so according to what that person's goal is, then we sort of plug in those missing pieces of the puzzle. And we do it in a real time, real budget. In other words, if I'm working with a small businessman or woman who's doing 150,000 a year gross, that's a different animal than the person that's doing 5 million wants to scale up from there. And so we have to start within the budgetary concerns of that particular individual. So it's all custom tailored.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned like the three things that keep businesses from being successful, or ultimately make businesses fail. What are like the successful businesses that you're dealing with, the successful clients that you're working with? What are like the three biggest challenges that they face, and what do you typically do to help them overcome those challenges?
One of them, well, let's take funding is a big one, because every time you go to grow, you have to, if your funding isn't all in place and if you don't understand it, there's a lot of people that don't understand the first step in funding, which is you have to have a plan according to where you are right now. So again, if the average person hasn't tapped into those resources of funding and doesn't know all the different ways to get funded, to apply that to their business. So funding's one of them. And the ones that are successful that I know, there's a formula. And so let's just use one guy I'm talking about. He's going for a line of credit. And before he goes for that line of credit, we have to shore up everything in his business so he looks good to the banks, or he looks good to the lenders. And so that's one of the main steps, is the difference between the guy wanting money or the girl wanting money and the guy that gets the money. They are rock solid. They have a foundation. They did a funding plan before we ever got to applying the banks and things like that. Once you're rock solid and we have that whole thing put together, then you can go after what you want. And also there's different levels that I'm going to plug in. If somebody's at 150,000 gross, his only choice may be going to his bank where he has a relationship, or he might have to go hard money lending or credit card stacking or whatever. It's different for each person, but yeah, the success is, did they listen to an expert like you or like me that has been there and done that to help be worthy of funding?
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. Good stuff there. And yeah, the funding is certainly a challenge for business owners. There's no doubt about it. Let's talk a little bit about the industry. Let's talk a little bit about sort of like small business owners in general. Would you say funding is the biggest problem that you see in the overall field, or are there others that are that are big challenges?
Well, there's probably 3 or 4, and really with a small business person, again, this is sort of sad to say, but a lot of small businesses started up out of their back pocket. They bootstrapped. And let's just use an example of a plumber who's a really good plumber. He learned the trade from his boss, who he's been with for 5 years. And now they're sick and tired of making a wage. They want to own their own business. So they start out and they've got a list of friends and family, sphere of influence. And all of a sudden they're up and running, making 50, 80, 100 grand a year. But they're running that business out of their back pocket. They didn't do a business plan. They didn't do any of the steps. They didn't look at their management team, all that stuff. Again, if they didn't build that rock solid foundation, the small businesses I run into, really even up in the $1 million range, gross, a lot of them didn't understand the difference between, they're still trading hours for dollars, and they aren't actually running a business. So if they want to pass it on to their kids or something, we have to look at the whole structure of the business and say, okay, get the accountant involved and say, well, now you're making money, but it's all going to your Maserati and your second house and things like that. And so it's not a true business. I always tell people, your business is another baby. You just had a baby. You've got to feed that baby first. And you got to make sure that baby's got all the foundation to grow. And if you take that food away from the baby isn't going to be a solid, they're not going to grow. And so that's one of the biggest things I see with a small business is wrapping their mind around the fact that, okay, do I want to run a business or do I want to continue to grow something to run it out of my back pocket?
Got it. All right. So that's some really good insights there, Chris, on your client, what you help them to do. Let's talk a little bit about partners, whether it be referral partners or partners in other aspects for you. What types of individuals or businesses do you partner with? And then why would a potential referral partner want to work with you? We certainly deal with a lot of folks in different aspects of business that are on and listen to this podcast. So tell us a little bit about that aspect for your business.
Well, I'm constantly searching, and I'm sure you are too, because I have at least two on my team of all the legal, accounting, financial people like yourself, all the background like virtual assistants, the tech people, which that tech people keep growing and growing.
Sure.
And so I always have at least two of everybody. And it is almost across the board. If you think of what it takes to run a business, I'm looking for those people, but I'm not looking for, oh, you want to be on my team? Yeah, just send me your details. I want somebody that, like you and I have talked, if I call you up and I send you a client, I want to know they're taken care of. So I'm the old school guy that I'm not just playing referral, whatever you want to call it, musical chairs or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got this rock solid team and I'm constantly looking for people that are real A players or, dream team type players. Sure. Because it comes back on me. And ultimately we're trying to get somebody to launch to the next level of lifestyle and business. So I don't want any excuses. I want people who are just like me that, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Yeah, well said. I couldn't agree more to that. That's a great point. Vetting partners is not an easy thing to do because it takes time, it takes experience, it takes talking to a lot of folks and finding the right people for you and for your clients, right? You want to have a rock solid team that's perfectly set up to serve your clients. And then that ultimately, I've always found, helps you to create that comprehensive offering, right? Because, whether it's business development or how to grow or sell my small business or wealth management. So I'm talking about your business and my business now. Folks prefer to work through one sort of source. So I like to say we're like kind of the quarterback for your financial situation. We'll get the other players involved as needed, and we can kind of spearhead that. So it sounds like you've taken a similar approach, which is cool.
Yes.
Chris, where do you see sort of small business going in the next 5 to 10 years? And what are you doing to stay on top?
We probably need 3 or 4 hours to talk about that, but I'll try to be short. There is this is personal opinion. I'm 103 years old, so I've been up and down and seen the wars and all that stuff, have more than one t-shirt from been there, done that. We are in what I would call a catastrophic perfect storm for small business. And what I mean by that is you look at how we're based. We are a free enterprise, almost an unfettered free enterprise system or capitalistic system that is nearing, it's nearing the end times in terms of they're just megacorps and then there's a bunch of small corporations struggling to survive. And the megacorps have the huge budgets. Like with this AI, let's just say for a small business person is $5,000 to $30,000 to just embrace. Well, here's this small business embracing this, and here's the megacorp throwing $1 million or $5 million at it. And so there's such a huge disparity, and the ability to compete with a good idea or good service or whatever, that whole definition has changed. It's not that it can't be done, but it's much more challenging because, with tech, my feeling is, and we haven't talked about this, but my feeling is this IT combined with AI is changing the world probably more drastically than the Industrial Revolution.
Yep.
So, people that are hiding their heads in the sand, especially the Gen Xers and the boomers, I'm like, well, tell me where you're at because maybe you just want to cash out. Let's get your business
Right,
to the
right.
highest valuation because this is a war. It's a war, and it's a war not only between high tech and no, low tech, or the old school versus the new school, but it's also the moneyed corporations, the huge mega corporations versus when a small business comes to me and says, I want to grow, we have to figure out how do you grow with the tools and the budget you have right now and go up against these guys with multi-million dollar budgets for marketing or multi-million dollar budgets for IT. So yeah, that's what I see as a huge challenge.
Yeah. It's it's happening so fast, and to your point, having dollars and expertise, gets you so much advanced compared to the others that don't have that. So
Yes.
that's interesting that you have folks that maybe don't want to play in that game, and you're actually advising, you know what? Let's get you ready, prepared to sell. It's funny. I had a guy named Brandon on our podcast show yesterday, and he invests in and buys more blue collar small businesses. And one of the opportunities that we talked about was that a lot of these baby boomer generations are looking to sell their business and retire. And there's such an opportunity for someone to come in and sort of digitize the business and
Yeah,
take what's a really strong brand and maybe strong cash flow, but then expand that through the use of a lot of the tools that you referenced.
exactly. Yeah. It's a very exciting time, but a very challenging time if you don't embrace the changes quickly.
For sure, for sure. All right, Chris, good stuff there. We're going to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about you now. So tell us, if you don't mind, tell us a challenge that you faced to this point in your life and how maybe that's helped shape the way that you do business.
Probably one of the biggest challenges and it's been well, it started at age 30, but it's continual. That is, I can't do it all myself. And at 30, I was arrogant. I just thought I knew everything. Every decade, you realize how much you don't know and how much you need to humble yourself and ask for help because you just can't do it all, especially now with the high tech. So that's been a constant struggle or a constant, embracing that and saying, even when I made money, lost money, even when I was at the peak making a lot of money and huge net worth and all that stuff, it was still the same thing. If I got too arrogant, I had to humble myself and say, you know what, I really don't know it all, and I need to plug in those pieces. And one of the partners I had was a crusty old British accountant. And he would balance me out because I'm the guy who wants to go out there and meet people and have all these creative ideas and help people grow their business or, acquire more real estate. He was a guy that was back there with the numbers, but I needed that. I can't do it all myself. So that's been the huge epiphany in my life is, you're not an island and you got to ask for help. And nowadays, if you don't, I don't know how, like small businesses that come to me and say, well, I'm going to do it all myself. Okay, well, now that you've told me what I need to do, I'll go learn how to do it on the internet. No, it's not going to work. You can do AI all day long, but it's not going to teach you how to do that next step. The guy that's been there and done that can do it so much quicker.
For sure. And there's so much value in being able to collaborate and learn from that guy that's been there, done that. Very cool. Very cool. All right, Chris, now we're going to transition into what's become a sort of a famous part of our show, and that's the lightning round. Okay. So the lightning round, I never tell the guests about it ahead of time. Anyone that's listens to our shows knows that this is not premeditated. So I'm just going to give you a question. Some of them are going to be quick one-word answers. Some of them will require a little bit more explanation, but I want you to just come back with the first thing that pops in your mind. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
What's one tool? We were talking about technology earlier. What's one tool or piece of technology other than your computer or your phone that you can't live without?
Other than my computer or my phone.
Yeah, it could be a software, could be a product, anything.
Well, you can't live without, autoresponder CRM.
Got it. Got it. Like it. Give us a quote or a phrase about money or success that you really enjoy.
Yeah, I could go on all day on this. I think it was Samuel Clemens said the two most important days of your life are the day that you were born and the day you figure out why.
Okay. I love that. I love that. Very good. The power of why. You have a favorite book on finance or business?
Oh, geez. Again, we could talk for hours. God, there's so many good ones. Yeah, well, finance and business, I would still go back to some of the old classics, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Yep. That one's come up a bunch of times on our show. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is that now we're talking quantum leaping. You and I think talked a little bit of quantum jumping, quantum leaping, and there's all these new buzzwords out there. There's nothing new under the sun. Napoleon Hill talked about it as manifesting your dreams or whatever the mind can believe it can achieve, and blah blah blah. So yeah, I start with those, but there's a million after that. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's all these books you can read that give you great insight, but again, they're just part of your toolkit.
Very cool. Very cool. Love it. Do you have a personal either productivity or finance hack? So like a best practice, a shortcut that you could share with the group?
Productivity, yeah. This relates to quantum leaping. One of the most powerful modules I teach is quantum leaping. I'm calling it the new buzzword. It's manifesting your dreams. When you tap into and align yourself, and what I mean by that is not focusing on money, but focusing on your lifestyle and happiness, and being congruent with everything you're doing in your life, and then you become thankful for where you at, and be thankful that you're living your life the way you want to. What happens is when you do that, your productivity, I'll give you a good example. I'm awakened by, doesn't matter what religion you are, you can call it spirit, the cosmos, God. I usually get awakened at 2 a.m. every day.
Okay.
And I get all the challenges and stuff I'm going, this flood of information that comes in, and I cannot sleep. It will not let me sleep. So in terms of productivity, number one, be thankful for whatever's in front of you, good, bad, or ugly, because you're going to learn from it, and you're either going to come out of it better or you're going to be stuck there. You get knocked down, it's not a failure till you don't get back up. So
Love that. Love that. I've witnessed a couple of things you mentioned in my own life, so I can certainly relate.
yeah.
What's one bucket list item for you that you've already accomplished?
Wow. This what happened when I was 30, and I do a story on it or a module. I at age 20 at Ohio State, all these success books came together, and I said, well, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I want to become one of the world's or the local area's leading authorities on health and fitness and exercise, phys, and sports performance. And I'm going to have my own human performance institute,
Okay.
a facility that trains athletes, assesses athletes. You've seen on the news where they're testing an Olympic athlete. Well, that's what I put together. And I did that at age 20, and I said by age 30 I will have my own. I'll have raised at least $500,000 for it. So a few months before my 30th birthday, I looked at all my little, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that on my bucket list, and I said, oh my God, I'm no closer to that. And so put together a team, sports medicine administrator, a hospital administrator, asked for help, and started going out to raise money. And within 90 days of my 30th birthday, I had the money raised. It was almost $2 million, which in today's terms are probably $20 million, single
Right.
investor. And I did that only because I willed it, only because I quantum leaped. I said, I can do this. And I asked for help. And then I did it. And so that year of my 30th birthday, I opened up the Human Performance Institute up in Cincinnati. It was one of the first privately funded, high-tech, medically based facilities that did testing on athletes and executives.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I don't have to live some of that stuff later on. I sort of got that t-shirt early, but
Good for you. Good for you. Really cool accomplishment. Great story. What's one financial milestone that you're still working towards?
okay. So billionaire, been there and done the millionaire thing, but it's and I don't want to say that sounds arrogant, and it also sounds like I'm focused on money, and I'm not. But you ask, so the next step is, okay, anybody can do this if they're willing to pay the price and embrace what it takes to get to that next level. I don't believe that stuff about just being born into money. I think that gives you a hell of a leg up, but anybody can do it. You just gotta put the team together and have the goal and the plan.
I love that. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be? I feel like you've given us like 5 of them already today, but let's pick one.
Ask for help, humble yourself.
Okay. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
As a small business owner, a lot of us are arrogant and think we know everything.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. Well done, Chris. That was great. I loved it. Finally, if our listeners want to connect with you, whether it be learn about your services or what you do, maybe collaborate, maybe they have, referral opportunities, or just ultimately work with you, what's the best way to connect with you?
I'm old school. I mean, I'm on the internet. My website is called buildingbusinessu.com. And I don't know whether you post that or whatever,
I'll
but
put that in the show notes. I
yeah.
absolutely will. Yep.
And you can text or phone me or email me. So
Very cool.
yeah.
We'll put Chris's contact information in the show notes. Chris, awesome stuff. Thanks for joining us and sharing your insights today. Really enjoyed the discussion. I know I learned a lot. I'm sure that our audience did too. And this has been another episode of the Making Sense of Your Money podcast. We appreciate you all tuning in and learning ways that you can improve your wealth and improve your life. Cheers.
Yeah.